Starting with the first technique, it uses the latest and hopefully the greatest AI feature in Photoshop, and that is skin smoothing. So all you need to do for that is make a copy of the background layer or your subject layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J. Don't worry, I'm going to be sharing an action for it, but it's important for us to understand how all of this works. Once you make a copy, let's go to Filter and then Neural Filters. Inside of that, all you need to do is to turn on skin smoothing. That's all. So let's turn on skin smoothing. And the lesser the blur there is, the more the skin texture and the pores you will see. Smoothness controls how much you want to even out the skin tones. So first of all, let's take the smoothness all the way to the right hand side and let's see what it does. So as you can see, there's a lot of skin tone evening out. If you decrease the smoothness, you will notice that the skin tone doesn't even out that much. And I'm going to share with you the before and after. If you just zoom in, let me share this with you. So here's the before. And here is the after. If you do increase the smoothness, you will notice the evening out will increase substantially. Have a look. Did you notice that? You need to do it yourself to notice it even more. All right. Now the blur controls how much of the pores you will see. So if the blur is less, you will see all the skin texture, all the pores in right there. If the blur is too much, you will see less of the pores. Have a look. Can you tell the difference? So I usually keep it at the middle, but this value will change according to your personal taste and your image. So for this one, let's keep the blur at 50 and smoothness all the way to the right hand side. Also, make note, in the output drop down, let's choose Smart Filter so that you can come back and change the values later. Hit OK once you're satisfied with values. Now, anytime you want to go back and change the values, you double click on Neural Filters and you can change the blur or the smoothness value. Make sure it is still Smart Object and then hit OK. Now it is applying all over. By the way, if you don't want to see the smart filters, you can always collapse that. And if you want to see that back again, you can click on this arrow to show it. All right. Now hold the Alt key or the Option key and then click on the mask button. This creates a negative mask. That is a mask with black. Now what happens with masks? Black hides and white shows. So let's go ahead and select the mask. Take the brush, white as the foreground color, and just paint over the areas where you do want to soften the skin and repair it. There you go. For some areas where it just doesn't go away, we're going to take care of that later. But for right now, just do this and you are pretty much good to go. And this is for quick edits. You don't have to do much, just a little here and there. And that's all. Let's take a look at the overall before and after. So here's the before. Here's the after. Look at the improvement. Isn't that amazing? Moving on to the second method, and this is pretty classic, pretty old, but works like a charm. And here it is. I actually talked about it 4 or 5 years ago in this video. I don't recommend watching it because this is the updated version. All right, first of all, make a copy of the background layer here as well by pressing Ctrl or Command J. Then invert it by pressing Ctrl or Command I, and then set the blend mode from normal to vivid light. That's it. Now you can name it whatever you want. You can name it softening, smoothing, that's up to you. And here's the twist that we didn't talk about 4 years ago, and that is convert it into a smart object by going to filter and then convert for smart filters. Hit OK. And this is the most important because you may change your mind and change the values later. Sometimes when you look at your work a year later and you look at it and say, what the hell was I thinking? Why the hell did I add so much more softening in this? You might want to go back and change the values and still have control over your younger self. How cool is that? Now let's go to filter, other, and then high pass. Whatever value you choose, watch carefully. So let's zoom in and decrease the radius, slowly and gradually increase it to the point where the irregularities in the skin go away. For this example, I think 40 would be a good number. Hit OK. The next step is applying Gaussian blur. Let's go to filter, blur, and then Gaussian blur. Decrease the radius all the way to the left hand side, slowly and gradually increase it and stop at just the point where you begin to see the irregularities. So this is used to bring the texture back. So we are bringing the texture back, but we don't want to bring it too much that all of the irregularities come back. So I think for this example, 9.6 or 9.8 would be perfect. Hit OK. And then you do the same thing. Hold the Alt key, the Option key, click on the mask button, creates a negative mask, take the brush and just paint over the irregularities. That's all. See how awesome this is? Now again, there will be areas like this because this was too much. You can remove it using the spot healing brush tool or the regular healing brush tool. That's up to you. But in most cases, you don't even have to do it. This was an extreme example. There you go. Want to have a look at the before and after? I'm going to do some areas here as well. All right, there you go. How quick was that? So here's the before, here's the after. Just look at it. Just look at it. Moving on to the third and the final technique, and this is one of my favorite because it gives you the best results fast. Now, it's not my favorite when it comes to doing it manually, dodging and burning, but when I don't have the time, this is actually the best. The only thing to it is that it costs a premium but it's not that expensive when you look at the use case. We're gonna get to it later, but for right now, let's take a look at how it works. I highly recommend this for professionals. First of all, as usual, let's make a copy of the background layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J, and the plugin that we're talking about is Retouch For Me series. So let's go to Filter, and there are a couple that I recommend. Let's go to Filter, Retouch For Me, and this is the one that I recommend, that is Heal. Let's select that, and it just automatically detects all the blemishes and removes them. Let's make it larger so that I can see. Zooming in, here's the before and here is the after. Take a look, isn't that fantastic? And also you can control the sensitivity of it. You can control how much of the blemishes you want to remove. So as you decrease or increase the sensitivity, it's going to show you where it is removing the blemishes from. So I usually keep the sensitivity all the way to 100. If you want to keep it natural, you can also decrease it according to your choice. I keep it this way. And once you're okay with the values, make sure you have checked Make Mask and then hit Apply. That way, only those areas would be covered in a new layer. Have a look at this layer. It only has those covered areas, right? So here's the before, here's the after. Now that is gone, but not completely gone. What is the next step? Let's create a stamp visible layer by pressing Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E. And again, you don't have to do any of this. There's an action for it. Right now, I'm just showing you how it works. So now let's go to Filter, Retouch For Me, and this is the second one that I recommend, and that is Dodge and Burn. Also, it does it automatically, and that too, it will be in layers. It will be in a soft light layer. You'll be able to see which areas is it dodging and which areas is it burning. Just take a look at it, my friend. This is just amazing. So here's the before, here's the after. Look, it's also working on the body. So if we zoom in, here's the before, here is the after. It is just magnificent. And of course, you can control the amount of it. So usually by default, it is at 100. You can have it lower, you can have it higher. That's up to you. I'm keeping for this one at about 128, and make sure you have checked soft light layer if you want that and hit apply. That way you will have a gray layer and have a look. These areas have been dodged. There are these areas which have been burned. Now all you have to do is to change the blend mode from normal to soft light. And there you go. And the greatest part about this is that you can just make changes accordingly. If you feel that you need to dodge some areas, you can do it. It's a gray layer. And after that, of course, if you want some additional contouring, you can press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E. This creates a stamp visible layer again. Let's go to Filter, Retouch For Me again. And this is the third one that I recommend, Retouch For Me Portrait Volumes. So I highly recommend getting this Trinity. It adds depth to your portrait. So here's the before. See, and here's the after, all the way to the right hand side. Now this looks kind of fake, so we're going to keep it in the middle at about 100. Of course, if you want a soft light layer, you can opt to have it and hit apply. And there you go, my friend. Have a look at the contouring. Looks 3D, doesn't it? So all you got to do again is to change the blend mode to soft light. And there you have it. So want to have a look at the before and after? We didn't even do a thing. All of it was automatic. So here's the before, here is the after. Whoa. That is just amazing.